All right, what's happening, ladies and germs? Today's video, I'll be talking about the 5 things that I hate about my Lexus CT200H. Again, I'm talking about the 5 things that I hate about my Lexus CT200H. This video is going to be a really good reference point for some of you guys interested in buying this car, or for some of you that already own this car, okay? Today we're switching it up. I know it's Christmas today, guys. Merry Christmas. There's a lot of cars coming up and down, so please excuse them as they pass by. It's been very busy up here in the roads of Azusa Canyons. Also, funny enough, guys, I did have an M4 that I was reviewing today, but since I got very sick last night, and I mean very sick last night, it actually bled off into the morning. I thought I had COVID, man. My whole body was hurting. So that's why I'm staying safe, staying up here in the Azusa Canyons. Now let's talk about the 5 things, again, 5 things that I hate about my Lexus CT200H. Woo! Come on, what's up with these people? Okay, so starting with number 1, the heat recovery system that's also paired to the Atkinson cycle engine. So what I really don't like about it is that it tends to clog up the EGR valve. And to actually backtrack, and let's talk a little bit about engineering, the hybrids are not really efficient when it's cold, at least the Atkinson cycle engine. So what Lexus has opted for is a heat recovery system that actually repurposes and reuses those gases and exhausts that are spit out during combustion, okay? Now, I don't have a problem with the valve getting clogged. I just have a problem with that not being discussed. And why is that not required during the 50, 100, or 150,000 mile services? Because when the EGR valve clogs, the engine doesn't run as efficiently, and it tends to failures such as head gasket failure, rod knocks, and you having to replace the entire engine if not caught soon enough. When I was reading forums, I found out that the 2014 and up has fixed this problem actually to a small degree. But this one being a 2012, my car actually had an engine replaced earlier this year. Luckily, I bought it from my friend's dealership, but if it wasn't for that, I would have paid an upwards of $4,000 to $3,000 just replacing the engine. Second thing is the brakes. The brakes actually do stop very well. My only problem is that if you're stopping from a very short distance, say you're going 20 miles and in maybe 10 feet, you have to slow down. These brakes actually tend to lock up. And I think that's because there's a lot of similarities between the CT and the Prius. Actually, the same Prius generation had a recall for the brakes locking up and causing people to crash. I think that might be what's going on here with my CT200H or CT200H in general. The brakes tend to lock up, and again, it shoots you further than if you weren't to have braked so hard. Number 3, this car has 130 horsepower, okay? That's a good thing because it's very efficient in gas, but it's also a bad thing because getting onto those on-ramps, I mean, this car really struggles to get up to speed. What I'd like to see is more horsepower because, of course, this car is compact, but it does weigh 3,100 pounds. So what I'd like to see is more horsepower for this car because, again, it is a heavier car. Obviously, the CT200H is discontinued, so maybe I can do some aftermarket things like a bolt-on intake, or even an uptune. As I was saying, the interface system, the software, the pairing process for Bluetooth is all just very, very inefficient. You could tell just the graphics alone, they're just, they could be better. The pairing process to pair a new Bluetooth device, I could honestly say it takes about 2 minutes with me already knowing everything of how to process the whole entire process. So again, the pairing process takes too long. Even, again, navigation. You know, my favorite feature is actually this one here because I actually barely use the navigation. You know, I thought having navigation would be really cool, but it's just so much easier, so much simpler just to hop on my phone, go on Google Maps, type in the address, and get on going. Because this one does have the voice activation where it follows your voice and, you know, you can pretty much tell it. But again, it's very inefficient. Watch.
After the beep, please say a command such as go home, destination, phone, audio, information, or a command list.
Destination.
Destination. Say a command such as address, point of interest, call destination assist, previous destinations, or presets.
Address.
Address. Searching. California. Say only the city name, or say change state.
Baldwin Park.
Oak Park. If that's correct.
All right, that's enough, guys. You can tell it's just a very long process. It'll take at least a minute just to put the address in, and that's only if you actually have the address. You can't just I mean, you have to have the physical address. You can't just say, take me to Best Buy, take me to Target. You actually have to know the address of the place that you're going. Now that we're here, I'm gonna give you guys a bonus, okay? You guys want a bonus? What I want you guys to see is how close these two buttons are, okay? This one here is a park button. This one here is the EV mode. So it puts your car into electric vehicle mode, okay? Now, the problem is when I'm in drive, especially when I first started, my main thing was making sure I hit park. Because a lot of times I actually hit EV mode thinking I was already in park, and I'd find that sometimes the car was actually taking off without me. Very critical, especially when you first buy this car, to get used to hitting the park button. Make it very deliberate. Don't just, because that's just me, that's my personality. You know, I'm like, all right, whatever, let's just go, you know, and I get on going. So again, I want to reiterate, make sure you hit the park brake, make sure you hit the park button when you want to park, okay, instead of hitting the EV mode. So, okay, so now that we stopped, let's go and check the acceleration, okay? We're gonna put it on, sport mode. Getting ready. This isn't gonna be that fair just because we're going downhill anyways, but it'll give you a good idea of how loud this car actually is. Okay, so let's recap what I hate so far about the car. The 1.8 engine only produces 130 horsepower, which I feel isn't enough for a 3,100 pound car. The second thing is a heat recovery system that clogs the EGR valve and eventually causes the engine to fail if not maintained or cleaned properly. The third thing is the braking system that's pretty much off that third generation Prius that has a lot of recalls that have caused a lot of cars to crash. The fourth thing is the park and the EV mode being just way too close to each other. And again, this inefficient system here, this whatever you want to call it, interface, software, navigation system, Bluetooth pairing, pretty much this whole system is very inefficient. Got to keep in mind this car is a 2012. Even the newer models aren't as efficient and probably aren't any better than this one here.